Hi, folks. Welcome to Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. I am your host. I forgot my name for a moment. I'm your host, Mark, and this is my host, Harry. God, I need to get so much better at this. I just stutter. The last three of them, I've just been like, I'm your host, Mark. This is my co-host, Harry. We're two
Hello.
idiots who talk about things that we have no idea on, and you shouldn't take us as written gospels or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasure to meet you. Welcome to our little laugh shack. How you doing? You can't respond because you're not there because you don't exist. Anyway, Harry, how are
Yes,
you today?
I am good. We're
Actually, how are you tonight? God, it's past
tonight.
our bedtime.
It is
It's
past our
11.
bedtime.
It's 11:30. God,
uh, I'm doing good.
my
Still going
beautiful
strong.
fucking girlfriend is just adorably snoring right next to me right now, and
Hmm.
so cute. Anyway, sorry, I lost track. We're supposed to talk about man stuff. Can't talk about girl stuff. Yeah.
All right. So, what are we starting off with?
Wow, jeez, Harry, you just want to get right the fuck into it. Fuck. Sorry, I didn't mean to mention my girlfriend. All right, let's see. Since we're in such a rush, no, I'm kidding. Since we're on the topic, since we did seem to have a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of delay, we would like to talk about Texas. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Texas is one of a very long list of places that are having substantial infrastructural and power issues, and I believe people are dying, which is pretty fucking crazy. Long story short, over the last 2 weeks, there was what was now called as a cold snap. Something I just kind of heard. Um, that isn't itself a problem. What is the problem is the fact that the Texas power grid is completely disabled. Um, the what's interesting about this is if you look at the U.S. power grid in terms of like the map
Mm-hmm.
of energy distribution, it typically has a line like right down the middle of the United States where it's like, oh, there's like the West from like Missouri to California, and then the other half of Missouri to like fucking the Carolinas, right? And that's how
Mm-hmm.
the power distribution works typically.
Okay.
But Texas is the fucking weird little fucking idiot of the group. Um, Texas is its own has its own energy distribution.
Okay.
So essentially, and this was just made this way as far as I can tell from what I've seen, mainly just to like skirt taxes and fucking regulation. But long story short, see where that got them. Texas at the moment has no power, or mainly central and southern Texas have next to no power. Hospitals are out. Uh, that means no clean water. They're on a boil mandate, which is pretty difficult since they don't have the heat to boil it. Um, People are freezing. People are starving because food can't be preserved. Yeah, this is pretty fucking awful.
Yeah.
Um, this comes right as Ted Cruz has been shitting on California as a developing nation state, which just tickles me pink every time I hear it. He went on
Mm-hmm.
vacation like last week to Cancun while talking about like how he's there for the Texan people. And let me make one thing clear: I love making jokes about Texas as much as the next person. Okay, I think Texans even love making jokes about themselves. But this is a very clear difference. I want to make very clear that I'm criticizing the government that's running Texas. The We'd rather be dead and free than you know than comfortable and enslaved. This like faux freedom that just masks like corporate greed and just bullshit.
Yeah.
Um, a regional mayor, I think, fucking resigned because he was talking about how, like, "I don't owe you a damn thing. We don't owe you a damn thing." He says this as people are dying and starving and unable to, like, protect themselves against the harsh climates. Like, you're a linear elected official. You're supposed to act on behalf of the people and give people what they need, and you do shit like that.
Right.
I don't want to get into an argument about, like, oh, well, how much do they do to on behalf of the people, and how much do they do to legislate in general? No, no, no. This guy's just a dickhead, just a plain old dickhead. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, Steven Crowder, a YouTube, uh, God, what do I want to call him? A YouTube butt plug, if you would. He's a conservative comedian? I mean, can you
Huh.
even say those in the same word, 2 words together? Like, really? Like, if you're just a conservative comedian, aren't you just a racist, like, misogynistic bigot?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, he pretty much says that it's the failure of, uh, the renewable energy sectors in Texas because they weren't able to function in the cold snap. And that makes no fucking sense. I mean, sure, if they didn't function, they don't function. But that's not on the renewable energy. That's on just forces that be that aren't able to countermand climate change,
Hmm.
which if you fucking watch this show or listen to this show, so help me God, you better fucking believe in climate change and how it affects people. Um, but yeah, it's absolutely insane how it's like Flint, Michigan. It's like there are
Yeah.
people who are dying, and it's like the politicians are just are using that whole freedom sentiment. Oh yeah, we'd rather be free, da da da, than die on the hill of tyranny. But it's like no, you're just saying that to rile up a couple 100,000 million people who don't know what's going on into thinking that like there's some mysterious force that's trying to put them down. Anyway,
Yeah.
my heart goes out to the people of Texas, the Lone Star State. I hope they're not alone in this, and I hope they get the help that they need. And I really hope that this is another one of those things that signals the death knell for the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Seriously, I really do. Uh, I'm not a big fan of the Democratic Party, but let's be honest, one side is obviously more worse than the other. I make no illusions.
Hmm.
Uh, you know what? You know what we should do, Harry?
What's up?
We should do obituaries. We don't do
Obituaries.
them. Yeah, you know what? This might have to be the podcast that does obituaries. I was just thinking to myself, man, it'd be great if we just talked about people that died recently. And I
Hmm.
wanted to talk about a very notable figure, a very notable figure in media.
Oh.
He had his own broadcast. You know, he was a controversial figure. You know, it's hard. You know, he moved a lot of people. He was on air for a very long time. Cancer too. It's tough.
Oof.
My heart goes out, ladies and gentlemen, to Larry King. Seriously. I mean, in the end, COVID got him, but what a guy. He's been around for decades, absolute decades. You
Yeah.
know, I feel like I'm missing someone though. You know, hold on, no, 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 no. I know who it is. I know who it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He's another sensational media figure. Okay,
Yeah.
old old fella, warm-hearted. Always took the right approach to making decisions. Maybe not always came down on the right side, but you know what? He was honest to his values. He was a decent human being. Hal Holbrook, just a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful actor, wonderful man, just and lived to be 95. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
But I'd be remiss. I feel like if I didn't mention this one person, he's not my favorite, but you know, I like I said, I think I'd be doing this podcast a disservice if I didn't mention this guy. You know, He's been in the business for a while. He's kind of got a rough edges, but overall, I think he's got a fairly long and notable career. And I think this one goes out to Christopher Plummer. You know,
Mm,
you
mm.
died too soon, too soon. Anyway, I'm glad we got those out of the way. Harry,
Yep.
what's the next topic?
Uh, we can talk about Warzone real quick.
Warzone, real quick. All right, all
Yeah.
right.
So basically, the next season comes out uh next week.
Two-year.
Yeah,
Okay.
this coming Tuesday. As you and me, we mainly just play Warzone. We don't play uh the new Call of Duty. Was it Black Ops Cold War or the previous one? Very much. We strictly play Warzone, and most of the updates are mainly for Cold War, but some of them, overlap into Warzone. Obvious, there's new guns, or new weapons. Um, but I
New
think
characters.
what they call skins, whatever.
Yeah, we're
Um,
operators too.
operators. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There are a
Um,
couple interesting looking ones. I mean, there's a new
right.
female character, uh, some badass, you know, person of color just wrecking shit, and then some
Yeah.
hillbilly looking guy. So that's always a good one.
A new executions for those operators too, which is cool. Some of
Ooh.
them are pretty brutal, machetes and stuff. Um,
Oh, right. And there's a multi-tool. It's like a
yes,
like a little combat shovel. Yeah.
yeah. So that one's pretty cool. But for the what's basically going for Warzone is there's I don't know if you played that little Rebirth Island, little small
Yeah,
island.
Unbirth Island. Yeah.
Yeah, off the coast when you played it, you could see a ship off the side of the side of the island, like far off, right off into the ocean. You could see it. You couldn't get to it, but you can see it. And if
Mhm.
you play it now, it's actually gone.
Oh, okay.
But
Quick question,
yeah,
just a side note.
mm-hmm.
When you're playing Unbirth Island,
Mm-hmm.
is that like a period piece like map? Like you're playing like in the era of Cold War, or is it like the abandoned coastal like Rebirth Island area somewhere in the same kind of university timeline as Verdansk?
I'm guessing it's university timeline with Verdansk. I'm
Okay, gotcha,
guessing.
gotcha.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Anyway, my
Um.
apologies.
No, you're good. So
Back.
that ship has actually been seen in the Verdansk map, off the water. And it's you can actually see like a storm cloud over it. So on the poster it says a dark wave approaches Verdansk. I'm a little intrigued what they're gonna do with that.
I'm excited. You know
Yeah.
what? It makes me think of them adding possibly a permanent fixture of zombies.
Oh yeah, that's right. There is what is it called? It says Black Ops Cold War Warzone Zombies Outbreak Challenge Event. We don't know anything about it. It's gonna
Now, see,
be
yeah,
yeah.
that's an interesting bit that they're going to be adding.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I always loved the new additions to Verdansk. I was a big
Mm-hmm.
fan of the train.
Yes.
I loved getting us caught down in the areas below the airport and just killing us.
Yeah.
Um, I love when the stadium opened up, and I'd really
Yeah.
like to see what a an aquatic kind of expansion of the map would look like. Because as you know,
Yeah.
as soon as you touch the water, your character just apparently can't swim.
Yeah.
But yeah,
um.
if they just surprised you with like a zombies thing where it's like, oh hey, we're gonna introduce this
Mm-hmm.
for the season, and then just it becomes a normal fixture later, that'd be pretty cool.
Actually, there's a BR before Warzone that Call of Duty made. It was called Blackout. It was strictly for, I believe, Black Ops 4 or Black Ops 3.
Ooh,
Yeah, and they actually had a section of the map where there were zombies.
that's
Um,
so cool. Okay.
yeah,
So it was a large scale map?
yes. Just think of Verdansk, but brighter, more colorful because it's Black
Yeah.
Ops. or Treyarch. And there is a section. So they based their big map off of um their maps. So there was a zombie map that they actually based a section off of, and when you went there to loot, you would run into zombies. So you have to kill zombies while looting around, and once you leave the area, like there's no zombies, but while you're in that section of that map, you would have to fight zombies to loot around.
Saying, okay,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
So
I would like it if they brought some of that back the way they did during the October event for Danks.
yeah, that one was a lot of fun. That zombies event was a lot of fun. It kind of was sad once they let it go, but yeah, I mean, I feel like that's an event that's gonna come every Halloween. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Well,
And
zombies, no matter what, video game wise, are always going to have like a craze to them. So,
yeah, you're right. And they actually were saying, here it is. Here's specifically for the new points of interest. It says across France, there are a number of points of interest in either discover or more fully explore, all advancing Warzone story while offering new places to scavenge and scrap for survival. So it says here, last sighted off the coast of Rebirth Island, recent intel suggests that cargo tanker, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Vodianoy has gone
ooh,
missing at sea.
Harry, Harry, you got a little Cossack in you, buddy? Yeah, that was good. I like that.
All right. So it continues says, however, recent visuals have identified a vessel matching the description heading toward the port of Verdansk. It says operators within the vicinity are recommended to exercise extreme caution as the ship is carrying unknown cargo and its crew are not able to be contacted. So,
Oh, I like that.
and then also it says, meanwhile, within Verdansk, something major is beginning to rumble deep underground. So I
Mm,
don't know if that includes that underground section of airport or what, but that looks pretty exciting. Because it's funny because that little section underneath Verdansk, I don't remember ever seeing any videos or
right, right.
any. It just
Announcement.
it was just there. I was like, whoa, what? So I'm
Oh
kind of
yeah,
excited.
when we were driving and you were like,
Hmm.
"Go down the hole," I was like, "Wait, what the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Because I had no idea. And then I just looked and I was like, "Oh, that's neato."
Yeah, so I like that they have one like new thing. Like, hey, there's this new thing. Like, look at this ship. But then there's like other things that they're doing secretly that we're not aware of, and I think it's cool. I like it. I'm really digging it.
I completely agree.
Mm,
You know what? I mean, it'd be kind of obvious, but I think it would fit really well where a ship usually fits, but in the dry dock spot of for anyone who does play Warzone, you'd know the dry dock area of the port.
mm.
So you get to the very end, you know where the helicopter typically spawns.
Yeah.
It'd be right there where people can like drive across,
Mm-hmm.
and that
I
I
that
think would be a solid spot.
I think that's exactly because that's usually a dead zone. No one is ever there. It's like, and I actually really do like that they have added things throughout the map that really, how do you say, make it so it's because I think when the map first came out, there's specific sections where people would go because that's where the best loot is at or the most loot is at. Like storage towns or not storage town, but superstore is always the spot. Superstore, you gotta go to
Mhm.
superstore or
Oh yeah.
downtown. You know, um,
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I'm worried that too many points of interest are put on the southeast portion of the map.
oh, like prison, and I mean obviously
Yeah.
port's a big spot. So
Well,
yeah,
the
I mean
thing is now with whatever's going to be there at dry dock, it's going to be that the port, which is usually a hotbed area, and the
yeah,
prison. And then if
yeah,
you look in the southwest portion, all there really is, which no one I think really finds viable now, is the what is it, Harry? The bunker. But
oh yeah,
there's no real point of like how do I want to put it? Uh, forced combat. Like
Mm-hmm.
people want to go to prison. When people go to prison, there's a large number of people that just bite the bullet.
Yeah.
There's a large number of people who go to like specific concentrated areas. Superstore is one of them.
Right.
The dam or a part of the dam could be one of them. It's like you see what I mean, that there are specific areas that have like a smorgasbord cornucopia of like contact. And
Yeah.
when you front load too many areas, you're focusing too much of it in one area.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know. I mean, it's like hell. You might want extra combat in this area. I just don't know why they would like not do too much of it in one area instead of another. I don't know.
Right. I think it's just because we don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're going to be jumping into it and figuring it out and seeing how it goes.
Oh yeah, that'll
Um.
be fun.
So there is actually a new game mode. I think I'm pretty sure would be down to try it out. But
Oh yeah.
it says it's about time that exfil chopper arrives before the circle collapses. Right. So it says
Mm.
during an infiltration battle royale, a portable radio crackles into life, coming online somewhere in Verdansk. The operator who secures this radio and holds it onto it for a sufficient period of time automatically wins the game for them. Or
Oh,
it says
interesting.
so
That'll be
basically, if you hold that
smart.
radio, yeah, you win the game. So it says to ensure their exfil isn't by the book, anyone holding the radio is marked on the TAC map as if they were under a most wanted contract. So that
Oh
everyone knows where they're
no.
at. So it says with all operators also receiving intel on how much longer the current radio holder has until they win. So basically, everyone knows where you're at and how much longer you have until you're gonna win.
Dear God, it's gonna be a slaughter.
Yeah, I mean, it does say
I
other
like
than
that.
this new win condition, the same battle royale rules apply. So you can do it that way, or you can, just win it normally. So
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty excited for that, because it's like, how do I say, like depending if you can get it. Like there's something that I used to do back in the day in Modern Warfare 2, what I would call defend the fort. It's my little game within a game kind of thing, kind of like your movie within a movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
So basically,
He's
my
dropping.
uh the theory behind it is you're defending a building, right? So let's
Mhm.
say you're playing team deathmatch, right? And the whole concept of team deathmatch, you got to go out and get kills, right? You got to run around, you got to win. Me, I'm like, this is my house, no one's getting in, and that was like it. So I like planted claymores. I like, I didn't purposely try to like shoot people. I'll just be waiting there, and that was my goal. And then eventually a bunch of my friends started doing it with me, so it'd be like a whole squad just chilling in this building, just like defending it and making sure no one can get in other than us.
The
And
crossfire is so good.
yeah, and so like basically like it worked out because all the enemies knew where we were at, or like I would repeatedly keep killing them and they would keep coming back to try to kill me, but because I was more prepared than them, I would kill them. So it's like we would actually win games this way. So it kind of
Mhm.
reminds me of that. Like once you have like that radio, it's like you just go defend the fort, get some claymores, just sit in a house and just defend it till you get extracted. So I'm
Like
kind
air
of
traffic
excited.
control.
Yeah.
You
So
think it's a joke, but no. My favorite part of the map, air traffic control. Watch it. You
i-
watch. Get the radio up there. Can't be stopped.
you're right. The thing is you're not wrong, and I think that's beautiful. Like if we can get it, like have a chopper, grab that fucking radio, and go to air traffic control, dude, it would be fucking brilliant.
I could see all of the little ATVs, all of the fucking
My God.
oh god, all the cars behind us as we're fucking racing up to the fucking ATC, and then we get murked because there are people already at ATC.
Mm-hmm.
God,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
you
Um.
know what? I gotta be honest.
Mhm.
One last thing, and then we can move on.
Yes.
One of uh one of the things that came to mind when I saw the trailer for this new bit was
Mm-hmm.
30 Days of Night.
Oh, okay.
And I actually genuinely like 30 Days of Night, the first one. Um,
Yes, I agree.
my my first favorite shot, or the first shot of the movie, is literally Ben Foster's face,
Mm-hmm.
and then what he's looking at, which is this um, stylized white foreground, and in the background is this dark tanker that is predominantly black silhouetted because it's got this like black cloud around it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's more just like a portents of death, and it
Mm,
sets the tone perfectly because it's like, oh, what's there, what's waiting on that ship, what's going to be there once it lands or runs aground or makes berth or whatever.
yeah.
So I really like the shot of like the ship, and it's got this black cloud behind it as it's
Mm-hmm.
sailing towards. I don't know. It just it gave me 30 Days a Night vibes, and I was really digging it.
Yeah. I'm
Anywho, sorry.
no, 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 I'm excited too. And that's basically it for Warzone. Um, if we can move on to the next subject, something that is dear to my heart. Um,
Absolutely.
Diablo. I guess there was a Blizzard event this past. I think it was this weekend, Friday. Um, and they announced basically a new character in Diablo 4. So they're not
Ooh.
releasing all the classes right away, you know. So they announced the druid, the sorceress, and the barbarian when they first, you know, said, "Hey, we're gonna make Diablo 4." Those are the three that are out there, classic characters in Diablo, you know, lore. The one that they released this past weekend, which I'm super stoked for, and I think you'll be super stoked for. It's actually
Oh,
from the original Diablo. They're adding rogues.
oh
Um, yeah,
my.
and so I'm super stoked because the playstyle rogue is oh man, I gotta send you the link of the trailer for it. But it's they're very versatile. So you can be very you can basically daggers and archery. That's the main forte of the rogue here, and you one
Oh,
thing that you can do is you can imbue your weapons, whether it's your bow or your daggers, with elements. So you can imbue it with poison or lightning or ice. You know, like you can imbue it with. And there's actually a new one, shadow, which is actually pretty dope, and it makes sense for rogues.
mhm.
Um, basically there's an ability where you can, it's called like Shadow Realm or something like that, something cheesy. um and basically you can like choose an X amount of enemies, and basically everything other than those few like X amount of enemies like can interact with you. So if like you Shadow Realm around you and you catch three enemies, only those three enemies can interact with you, and you like can slay them, and then once the thing goes away, you can start fighting the rest of the group. So you can kind of like,
Fucking cool.
yeah, like it's very rogue esque. And you can, what I really liked, which I don't remember
OP.
seeing, what was that?
It sounds a little OP
Yeah.
for isometric fucking RPG. That
Hmm.
sounds really weird.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued to see what else they do. They did mention some PvP, and they did say that rogues and PvP are, pretty powerful. So I don't know
Hmm.
if they're trying, how well they're trying to balance it, and how well they're trying to differentiate the classes. Like, like I've always been the type to be like, one class is like, yeah, they can be a DPS, but their main strong suit is being a support, or this
Right.
person, like rogue. When I think of a rogue, I think of someone who just has a lot of damage per second, do a lot of DPS, a lot of killing a lot of things. And if I think of like a paladin, it's like they're not killing a lot of things, but they can hit really hard, but their main forte is, getting auras and, making sure the rest of the team is, doing okay. You know what I mean?
So
Yeah, heavily support.
not
So,
all the time. Sometimes paladins can be like, as you were saying, like direct heavy hitters. It's all really
yeah.
just about like how you specialize.
Yeah.
Well,
So
mm, that's not entirely true. I would imagine what you were saying was probably more true. That it's like paladins are more support prevalent.
yeah, like the way I look at it is, at least the way I would want it to be is a certain class can be more is a better like support than like something that's supposed to be a better damage dealer. Where like
Right.
the thing that I don't like about Diablo 3 right now is like you think of a crusader like, oh, crusader is generally a tank, someone who takes a lot of damage and can support people to clear higher rifts or whatever. but the
Agreed.
but the thing is, it's like there's other like all the other classes have like just can run a just a sufficient enough support class as a crusader can. So there's no reason why you should choose a crusader over a demon hunter or a wizard or whatever. It's kind of, I don't know, like that the specialness of what a crusader could have been is just gone because every other class can do what they can do, and then they can also be the damage dealers too. So it's like there is no like you like one character can do one thing and another that other character can't really do what they do because they're not really meant to do that. You know,
Hmm.
that's, I don't know. It just seems like you could just kind of get any character in Diablo and then do whatever you want with it because you have they give you whatever you want. Like, okay, you want to be support with this character, you can be support. You want to be damage dealer, you can be damage dealer. It's like, okay, well, what? It just depends on who you like the most and what skills you want to do. You know what I mean?
It sounds like it takes away from, I don't know. It does sound a bit like it takes away from really solid specialization though. If you could be anything,
Mm-hmm.
then it probably like, I don't know. If a mm, if a type is designed to be one thing, I know that it's really strict, but it's like that one thing is really powerful.
Yes.
Um it's probably the way they just want to design it, but I get the impression that they think they want to do like character freedom by
Mm-hmm.
creating a character with like multiple builds, but like you lose the chance of really focusing on like one really good thing that a character build's good at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could be talking on my ass, probably, but
Yeah.
I'm
So
excited. Rogues,
yeah. So
God,
I
that's so interesting.
yeah. So then there's actually another thing they announced, which I'm super stoked for, which I actually feel like I'm gonna be probably streaming a lot of Diablo games. Yes, games, multiple games this year. Uh, so they announced Diablo 2 Resurrected. Basically,
Oh God, don't tell me it's a remaster.
it is a one for one remaster of the original Diablo 2. It looks great, and they specifically specified that they did no changes. They literally got the original, remade it with way better graphics. They didn't
Mm,
touch any gameplay. They didn't change anything. Like, all we did was up the graphics to what we are accustomed to nowadays. I'm
but
like,
modern graphics suck.
so they did the entire game and all cinematics. They said they wanted to keep it as original as possible,
Mhm.
because they're like this is the game that made a genre.
Launched us, yeah.
Yeah, like of course we want a remake of this. Of course we want to work on it again. We want to replay it and we want it to look good. Like there's nothing wrong with the original, so why
Or Harry,
change anything? Hmm?
Harry,
Hmm.
or you could just get the original and just enjoy it for what it is that way.
It's true, and I do, but still being able to play, like, I want to see if they did add certain what's the term, uh basically certain things that just don't make sense in, like, for example, like one pet peeve that I have
Mhm.
is picking gold up from the ground one gold at a time. that is really annoying for me in
Mhm.
the
You
in
want like
part two.
a mass area of effect pickup?
Exactly. From Diablo 3, if once you run over it, all the gold gets picked up.
Okay,
Where in
well, that
Diablo
makes
2, you have to click on individually and on the gold to pick up gold, and it's super annoying. So that's the that's like one thing. The other thing is your inventory in Diablo 2 is basically non-existent. Like you can't hoard things. Like
okay.
you can't at all. Diablo 3, you can there's it's not infinite, but there's way more storage for you to just have things, which is very helpful because sometimes you don't know what you want to do just yet, right? So you're like, okay, well, I want to hold on to this and this and this, and then I'll come back to it later, to mess around with it or whatnot, because you kind of want to do different builds, right? You want to build your barbarian a certain way, or you want to try out different abilities. You know what I mean? Like certain items do certain things for certain abilities, and or like you want to hold certain items. Like, okay, I can't like I'm not ready for this item yet, but I want to hold on to it until I'm ready for it, right?
Mm.
Um, but the thing is, like, you have a small amount of space in Diablo 2 to carry anything. So that's one thing that I'm hoping maybe they fix.
Oh,
Uh,
they probably didn't.
Probably, and I won't be too upset, but if they do, if they add space to it, I'm gonna be super stoked. But those are my little things because I love Diablo. I like every so often I go back to Diablo 3 and just play the shit out of it, and then once I play the shit out of it, I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing left for me to do, and then I stop playing. But
And they're done.
yeah,
Yeah, I know. I feel it. I
but
feel it.
replaying Diablo 2 remastered would probably be dope, and then obviously I'm stoked for Diablo 4. So little tidbit from me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's
Um,
what comes after three.
um, Something that I've been wanting to talk about. I'm going to the next subject.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Didn't know it was the Harry show. Okay, fucking
it
Jay
is.
Leno.
It is right now. It is right now. Got a lot to talk about, especially with this next topic, Wandavision. Last time that we talked, we left off on a cliffhanger, and I was stupid stoked. I was all about it,
I
and
was I was just shitting on your hopes and dreams too.
yeah,
I'm so
and
sorry for that.
unfortunately, I think you were correct.
I I don't think I was actually.
I think you're right in a certain point.
I
Because
think
obviously, go for it.
I think in the sense that he wasn't necessarily the guy,
Yeah.
that he was Quicksilver. But I mean, I think for the most part I was wrong on virtually everything else.
Mm,
Um, I'm just disappointed that we missed last week to kind of discuss further theories because I think last week's episode still had the implication
yes.
that he could have been. Um, I still, by that point, didn't think he was. In fact, I think a lot of the stuff that he was doing kind of was hinting that he wasn't. Like, he's obviously there, like cheering Wanda on for all the kind of crazy shit that she's doing. He's
Yeah.
a bad influence on the kids, like especially the out of pocket shit he says about Vision dying twice. I'm like,
Right.
that's some anti like good guy brother shit right there.
Yeah.
And then with the mid credit scene of the episode we're going to be talking about now,
Mm-hmm.
he's definitely coming across as a little more.
Mm-hmm.
So, so let's tell you what. Let's start with the previous episode.
Yes.
Oh,
The basically Halloween special.
yeah, the hell, yeah, basically.
Um, yeah. I thought, yeah. The more I saw and after what you talked about, I was like, oh man, it. I was like, dude, Mark's so right. Mark is so right.
I I actually wouldn't mind if they did that for more actors who wanted to be in the MCU. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, listen, like We know you liked being Scott Summers, or we know you liked being Caliban, or we know you liked being Aurora, but like we're probably gonna make you like this villain, or we're gonna make you this superhero, we're gonna make you this love interest, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't have a problem with that. If they want to do one like other cheeky thing, like what they were attempting to do here, which because they knew, like, there's no way they didn't know that casting Evan Peters as a guy playing Quicksilver wasn't, you know,
Yeah, you're right.
cheap. That's fine. But I don't think a 1-to-1 like, oh, let's get Michael Fassbender to play Magneto again, or let's get,
Mm,
whoever to play their copy and paste roles. I think that's a bit of a non-starter now,
mm,
at least. Um, that being said, so the episode is really uh a more significant division between Wanda and Vision. Vision is far more distant. He's far more confrontational with
mm-hmm.
Wanda in front of the kids, no doubt too. He's on a mission to discover what's going on.
Yeah.
And Wanda at the moment is going through kind of a inner turmoil, and all that gets side saddled when her brother, quote unquote Pietro, uh, is kind of like validating all of her guilt. Not guilt, I'm sorry. Validating all of her how do I want to say this?
Mm.
He keeps shifting blame away from her, validating her
Reason.
grievances. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. And doing all of this, and it's all kind of coming at a cost, because at the same time she's realizing that this kind of isn't Pietro.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's see. We still at this episode didn't know who the engineer is, the aeronautics engineer is. Vision has a little discussion with Agnes, uh, little eerie. He kind of like taps into her mind and realizes what's going on. He eventually tries to go outside of the field, and his
Yeah.
body like disintegrates.
It's like being
And
pulled back into the
yeah,
hex.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I think what a lot of people have been realizing is that he can exist outside of it
Yeah.
in any way, which is going to be pretty tough, I think, at the end of this miniseries. I think it's I don't think this show should shy away from how tragic this could be.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's important because this show's really, really, really well done characterization,
Mm-hmm.
because Vision literally crawls through this space, and the first thing he says is help the people outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has some kind of, or inside, he has some kind of consciousness and some kind of realization that he's, this indestructible, supposedly indestructible synthesoid, with all these powers and all that, and doesn't necessarily need to be saved. But the first thing he says is these people need to be helped, which I think is a touching moment. It
Right.
really goes to show like how the writers can kind of tug at your heartstrings. Besides the point, uh, Wiccan seems to sense this, tells mom, and she expands the boundary of the hex,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't think was something that was able to happen, or which was going to happen at all, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, Completely enveloping most of the members of Sword, and turning them all into clowns. I don't know
Yeah.
if this is based off of her interpretation, or just good old luck. Um, but yeah, so Darcy was enveloped in it. A good portion of the Sword staff. The main asshole bureaucratic guy, he managed to get out of it. Monica Rambeau, Jimmy Woo, they got out there heading towards the aeronautics engineer. Harry,
Mm.
what was your impression of this episode?
This episode, it was cool seeing the kids kind of get their powers. Um,
Right?
yeah, I liked that. I think I was so. hyped up about Quicksilver that I I really missed all the other stuff. Obviously, like the hex getting larger, I was like, holy shit! Like,
Mhm.
like again, I agree with you. Like, I didn't think that was possible. And just even like Petro. What's his name? I keep want to say
P.
Pedro, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no, Pedro Pascal.
yeah, that fucker. Yeah, he's not Mexican. So
Just say
he
P.
yeah, Pietro. Um, his character, like you said, talking to Wanda, like it's like obviously he's not someone like everyone else. Like he's
Yeah,
like you said, he's bringing up these subjects and he knows stuff that he shouldn't know,
yeah,
but also things that isn't like she was saying, like like there's things like he knows, but also things he doesn't remember that I remember. So he's
right.
is he actually my brother? Like she knows he's not her brother, obviously, but at the same time, like man, he knows things about me that some people shouldn't know. So it's kind of like what's going on there. It's very like that was super intriguing for me. Like, oh, I want to know more. Like, who is this person? Like, and your explanation of Mephisto, I was like, oh shit, like this makes way more sense. Like just what he's talking about, the words he's saying. Like it started just clicking. Like, oh, it has to be him, right? Like, I was kind of bummed, because I was like, man, I kind of wanted X-Men to finally be involved with Marvel, but whatever. There's still time down the road. But I liked it a lot. I liked that it. I like that like mixture of like it's a sitcom and then it's like actual Marvel stuff happening on the side.
Agreed.
It reminds me of like the episode where it goes back to when everyone came back in the hospital and like
That
it
yeah, that
like
was a good bit.
I love that like they're showing the background stuff. Like there's like like there's the the Avenger movies and Iron Man, all like there's these big cinema movies, but there's always background stuff that's happening that isn't being told. And I think that's the stuff that's happened. Like the Marvel stuff is like the stuff that they're showing that's not sitcom is like this is the background stuff. This is what's happening in the background, and it's so good to see that. Like oh
Oh
man,
yeah,
like and then obviously there's the sitcom stuff with Wanda, the kids, when Vision's there, and all the stuff that's happening there. Like, and then there's like the background stuff that's like oh man, like that. It just the way they're doing it is so good. Like
I you know what? I have to agree with you on that. I'm liking that that the background stuff is also really pertinent to the main story
mm-hmm,
because all of the background stuff that's being shown has to do with Monica, and I'm gonna add to the latest episode is a very interesting relationship is forming.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh, Monica and Wanda.
Yeah,
Um, I'll get into the whole powers thing in a moment too, but
yeah,
I really do agree with you. I tend to. I was thinking about this the last time I talked to you about like, well, I'd really like if they introduced like Reed Richards or whatever.
yeah,
But to be honest, I don't think this needs to be the mini series that does that.
yeah,
I'm because I almost feel like doing some of the typical Marvel like cameo stuff might cheapen how good the show is. You
yeah.
can do that with Winter Soldier, you could do it with Loki because it's like that works, but like just give me one or two villains for this series.
Mm-hmm,
Don't foreshadow too much and just focus on the story right now. Because I think they're doing a really good job so far. I think the episode that we're talking about is kind of a bit of a vacuum almost because we
mm-hmm.
kept getting built up to like the whole Pietro thing that we were talking
Yeah,
about and we had to wait a week. And then there's not much that goes on with him. Uh, but yeah, I do enjoy some of the contextual stuff that they introduce.
mm-hmm.
Um, next episode.
Yes. I
Okay,
think I think you had a good segue with the power stuff.
yeah. Um, so I'll just go straight into it. Midway through the episode, Monica Rambeau gets her powers and becomes Spectrum,
Yay!
or I can't remember. I always is it Signal or Spectrum?
I don't
Doesn't matter.
know.
Anywho, um, one of the things that I'll get into my little shtick and then I'll go over synopsis of the episode.
Yes.
Why I mentioned to you that I really liked the extra content, the contextual stuff that they're introducing, all the stuff in the background that's happening, is because it's pertinent. It's pertinent to the characters. Wanda does what she does because she's lost, she's hurt, she's angry, she literally just lost the one she loved a couple weeks before the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
this series. Um, I mean, she literally came back from the snap to find out that her loved one is dead, is still dead. That the nightmare that she was erased from this world in and then brought back into is still real. And then Monica Rambeau, she wakes up to find that her mother is gone.
Mm-hmm.
These two have very, I mean, not entirely comparable, but given the context of the show, they have very comparable backstories.
Yeah.
And I like that the moment she goes through the portal is not a moment of like just driving the plot. It's a genuine character moment of empathy.
Yeah.
And Tony Stark realizing that he's a dickhead, Steve Rogers realizing that he's doesn't like Nazis, Thor realizing that he's a dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I really like the idea of her. How do I want to put this without sounding like an asshole? Monica Rambeau's reward, her powers, are through her empathy. That's what I
Mm.
like. She isn't her superhero alter ego because of her powers. She literally goes through a radioactive wave into an alternate dimension without the powers.
Yep.
That's what I think is more important. Like Tony Stark has to become Iron Man.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers is always Captain America. He's like the superhero serum like makes him more capable of punching Nazis.
Right.
But like and Thor is always Thor. But like the thing that's different is whether she's weak or strong. And I don't mean weak in like the typical, I just mean like whether she has superpowers or not. Monica Rambeau is always that superhero
Right.
because of that empathetic bond she shares, and I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
Um,
Agree.
so that being said, and that's one of the parts that I genuinely like about this show is how it builds that emotional chord. So anyway, um, so the previous episode was kind of based on the late '90s, early 2000s, Malcolm in the Middle. This one's based on like The Office and all the modern sitcoms now, where everyone likes to fucking talk in front of the TV.
It, yeah. I think the
I don't.
the title of the episode is "Breaking the Fourth Wall" or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't get the same like jolt of humor necessarily. I think that was kind of expected, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but because they're kind of like going through that as quickly as possible. But uh, premise, stay on topic. Essentially, Wanda kind of a little disheveled over what happened is kind of taking a in-home sabbatical. She's left the kids over with Agnes, and Vision has reclaimed Darcy's mind, who's been trapped in the hex, and they are heading to Wanda now. Vision and Darcy catch Vision up on what he has done before, and he kind of has to reconcile with the person he was before, with
Yeah.
the person he is now. Um, Wanda is kind of experiencing shifts in her reality. Objects keep fluttering in between universes, or not universes, but like states of
Mm-hmm.
universe, like 50s, 70s, 90s, whatever. Um, And Monica Rambeau, as I said before, her and Jimmy Woo essentially go and try to penetrate the hex, with her being the only one who succeeds and getting her superpowers. She becomes, fuck, I'm just gonna say her name is Signal because I don't know why it's killing me on this. Anyway, besides the point, she tries to confront WandaVision, trying, as she said in, I think the episode prior to last, or the prior episode, that if Wanda's the cause, she's also the solution. She believes that kind of building a connection with her and kind of pulling her off the ledge is the idea, but Agnes kind of pulls her away. And it's then that we get to the big kind of like the big payoff in the realization that that Agnes, aka Agatha Hargreaves,
Mm,
is a magic user responsible for a lot of what's going on. She she's the as she self-proclaimed, she's the one who killed Sparky, or Spot.
yeah.
She's the one who killed the dog for the kids, or in front of the kids, or whatever. She's been nudging Wanda and Vision to copulate, to have little kids and all that. She's been pushing them in all these different directions and whatnot. Um, she's the one behind all this,
Mm,
which is interesting because in the comics, apparently, she's actually the one who apparently mentors Wanda. I don't know if
mm,
she's an antagonist in those comics or not, but in this, she seems to be either the cause or adjacent to the cause
mm,
of the uh, of the false reality,
yeah.
of the artificial reality. She seems to be. I don't know. I don't know how to put it quite exactly.
Yeah, so I read a little. I did some research.
Shit.
Basically, right after the episode of Agnes, and basically, she, like you said, she's her tutor, her mentor, and I guess she later on, I guess, tells her that her kids are actually Mephisto's soul split into two, but
Okay.
Wanda doesn't know that. And so
Interesting.
she removes she removes that memory off her and just keeps being her tutor. And so basically, uh spoiler alert, once she removes that memory of the kids, when basically they form again, and that's when Mephisto comes back.
Okay.
So she removes the memory of her children, so she doesn't remember that. And so
My
then
God, why don't you just make
that's when she
fucking her up?
becomes the Scarlet Witch. Basic,
Interesting.
yeah,
So that's when she's technically gonna become the villain or the
yeah.
anti-hero.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, obviously, down the road, she finds out what Agnes did. So then she just murders her in cold
Oh my.
blood.
Okay, shit. Well, that's fucking awful.
But so I was just thinking, like, I keep forgetting that this is actually a prequel to the Doctor Strange movie coming out.
Yeah, and the thing is Nightmare has been teased in the Doctor Strange movie.
Oh,
Kind of like a comic book Freddy Krueger, except
okay.
less off-putting.
Nightmare is, I'm not sure. I think you told me.
Nightmare, yeah, he's literally just fucking Freddy Krueger. He just invades
Okay.
people's fucking minds. He's like, be fucking afraid, and then harnesses their energy. He uses magic and shit like that, and
Okay.
I don't know how they're gonna introduce that in the multiverse. But a lot of people are saying that it could be three characters. It could either be Mephisto, who I think is probably the closest choice.
Uh huh.
Um, I think it would be a pretty good choice to introduce Nightmare now and do something significant with him in the Multiverse of Madness,
Mm,
or it's Scratch.
Scratch. I've never heard that name.
Scratch is Agatha Harkness's son.
Oh.
One of the theories going on at the moment is that uh Scratch is Senior Scratchy.
Oh.
Yeah, so
The
Senior. the rabbit.
Yeah, the rabbit. Okay.
So or yeah, so the rabbit and also Quicksilver. So Agatha is
Okay.
using some kind of like glamour spell to like hide her son's appearance.
Oh, so basically, when she needs him to do stuff, he's no longer a rabbit. He's
Exactly.
okay. That makes sense.
I don't know much about him. Like
Right.
there are a couple like bits that are like, oh, it could be this guy, and like I was
Mm,
just like, oh, that'd be pretty cool to mention in the podcast.
mm.
Um,
I
but
actually.
I that would be an interesting little bit, father
Mhm.
son or father son,
Uh,
father son picnic, um, mother son kind of villain group.
mhm. Yeah, I think I, I'm excited. I really wanted to watch the next episode. I'm like, oh, that's fucking it. And then I love that I'm pretty sure this is the only episode that has a post credit scene. Am
A
I?
mid credit scene, yeah.
Oh well, yeah, mid credit scene. It caught me off guard, and I really wasn't even gonna check. I just because the episode ended, and I was talking to Livy. I was like, oh man, talking about the episode, and then all of a sudden, like once the credits ended, it was like that scene popped up. I was like, oh shit, what?
Hmm.
Because I
Has
mean, good.
no, please, by all means.
No, I was just like, because usually after every episode, I kind of check because I was like, this is fucking Marvel. They do that, but it hasn't happened. The one time that I didn't actually try to look for it, it just happened to be there.
I can't begin to tell you the luck that we both have because I was like, as soon as the fucking credits start, I'm done with the episode.
Right.
And I clicked out, and my girlfriend was like, "What are you doing? Wait!" So I waited, and I was like, "The fuck credits." And the next thing I see is fucking Monica Rambeau
Yep.
scoping out fucking Agatha's house, and then as she looks into the cellar, she's right next to her is uh oh man, right off the top of my head, I was gonna think of like a faux Quicksilver name, faux Quicksilver, and he's like, "Snooper's gonna snoop,"
Yeah, that line
and
too. I was like, so
then
cheesy.
I know, right? But like he could just be like a false manifestation. He could be like one of the controlled minds just acting on behalf of Agatha.
mm,
Uh, but when you put it that way with Mephisto, uh, Agatha definitely seems like she has something in mind for the kids.
mm.
Uh,
I mean, the kids were missing.
yes, and there's
So,
all that information that helps kind of corroborate that Agatha or Agnes at the time was a part of it before the reveal.
mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so hard to listen and all that shit in the beginning of the episode, but it's like you're quiet. So like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought that was weird too,
Hmm.
when the kid was like, "Oh, your head's quiet," and I was like, "Well, that's weird that he would say that because usually people are probably screaming and
Screaming in fear.
yeah." And
It
I thought maybe like because you don't see Quicksilver until the very after to the mid credit scene. He's not.
unless he's being petted by one of the kids, which is weird.
True. But I was thinking like what if his like whoever if let's say if that was Mephisto, if
Hmm.
he was Quicksilver, and then now that he wasn't in the episode at all, what if Mephisto's overtaken Agnes's body at that time?
Ooh,
That's what I was
right.
thinking. But then now that it came out to who she is, I'm like, obviously it's not. But I that's what I was thinking like mid episode. I was like, holy shit, what if he's jumping from person to person? But I kind of got proven wrong once she revealed who she
Well,
was.
not necessarily. I could just be wrong about who the bunny rabbit or who Quicksilver is. Or faux Quicksilver could literally be impersonated by Mephisto.
Could be.
Yeah.
It,
And
it
it just made me think of when small tangent, when Monica got her EKG
mhm.
and they had to redo the test and they were like, "Oh, it came up blank,
Oh.
right, with the brain scan. I wonder if
Hmm.
there's any correlation to that. But anyway, back to you, bud.
No. Because I was thinking because if Mephisto obviously in comic book form he's split into two from the with the kids, and that's how the kids are born. But if Quicksilver's already there and Agnes is there and the kids are there, if they're not, if they're following comic book lore, there shouldn't be Mephisto. But then you know, that's if they're following it. I don't know if they really are. You know.
I'm sure there's just a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure the MCU has been a lot better when it
Mm-hmm.
has copied and pasted the entirety of,
Everything.
Marvel Comics.
True. Yeah, I mean, what they did, like, I think I was talking to someone about it, where, uh, like, they had 10 years worth of story, like,
Mm.
leading up to Endgame, and everything just fit into place. It was amazing.
Oh yeah,
And then, this is completely side note is, DC hasn't done that. And that's why DC films don't work
don't
because
remind me.
they don't have this 10-year storyline, assembled. They just like, okay, here's a Batman movie, here's a Superman movie, oh, here's a fucking Justice League movie, sure,
Yeah,
but like,
it's like what I was saying before, where it's like a Doctor Strange movie can be successful
mm-hmm,
and be okay because it exists within the MCU framework.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Like I despise a lot of like not despise like creative license or whatever, but I don't care for most like superhero movies that like have that kind of cheesy, non-glued together like I don't know how to describe it. You see it a lot in the more so in the pre-Justice League
mm-hmm,
era DC movies where it's like they're all kind of weird and wacky and you can't imagine any one of them kind of fitting into a larger part.
mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, Doctor Strange works even if it's not like a really great movie because it fits into a larger
Right.
narrative. It's like Doctor Strange, I love
Mm-hmm,
that story. Like I don't think it's great, but like the story of a guy who like has to overcome his own arrogance and become like essentially a pawn in a cog of war and kind of like become this guardian. That's fucking
mm-hmm.
great. And it's like as a character that he develops significantly in uh in Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah,
And
he does.
that's the thing that his character and those movies are designed to do that. So
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I
it's
just.
yeah, it's just tough when you have stuff from the '90s and whatnot or the early 2000s, with the exception of the Nolan Batman movies,
Mm-hmm,
where they're just you can't. I don't know how to describe it. Like I can't see these movies interacting with other movies.
yeah.
I can with Marvel film movies
Yep.
because they managed to do it.
Mm-hmm,
They genuinely did. There have been attempts every which way to combine Batman and Superman. There have been attempts left and right to do a Justice League movie. George Miller was the only guy who I thought could have pulled it off. The guy who did the Mad Max movies.
yeah.
He had like an early 2000s version of Jesus Christ Justice League that I thought could have got off the ground, but it didn't quite.
Mm-hmm,
But Marvel has always been ahead of the game, always, in every sense of the word, in making, I think, a viable like franchise.
yeah.
Like Batman, like he's I think the exception. I don't mean to say that he's the exception that proves the rule, but it's like Batman literally had 89, 92, 95, 90. He literally had the 90s
Yeah.
where it's like they just kept making movie after movie and they just got progressively worse.
Yeah.
Um And then X-Men came along and completely redefined.
Mm,
superhero movie. Like,
yep.
say what you will, but like Spider-Man, X-Men, you might not like them as much now. They might not have aged well to you, but they absolutely changed the game.
They definitely did. X-Men specifically, yeah.
And I mean, you look back at it now, I think it's a little wacky, and I think it probably doesn't do service quite well to some of the characters. But as a movie,
Mm,
oh man, as a movie, it's great. X2 X-Men United as a movie, forget like, oh well, it doesn't adapt Stryker well because Stryker's a religious fundamental. Like, fuck that. Like, as in terms of writing, as a story and balancing characters, it does a damn good job.
yeah.
And on top of that, foreshadows Dark Phoenix, which I'm not going to get into because it was bad, but builds upon a larger world.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, like, what Batman Begins did that, but with the Joker, and then
Right.
the Dark Knight happens, and you're pretty much finished.
Mm-hmm.
And then the idea of the Dark Knight Rises comes out. It's an unnecessary sequel, to be honest,
Mm.
but it's still a good, solid conclusion,
Yeah, it is.
still contained. You see what I'm getting at, where it's
Yeah.
like it's only until after essentially Marvel does this that the Justice League DC movies are doing this to their own extent
Mm-hmm.
unsuccessfully.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think the Marvel universe or the Marvel Studios got a good basically how do you say, just like
Head
they saw,
start.
yeah, like they saw what X-Men was doing and they're like, oh, we can easily do this, like if we just, like, we have so many players that we can take from,
Hmm.
and make this actually work,
And
and
that's the heartbreaking part. That's
mhm,
really the heartbreaking part because DC has that too.
yeah, they really do.
Like Superman, oh man. Hearing my girlfriend talk about characters like Superman and like Captain America and talk about them as like goody two shoes, but like getting to the weeds and making like movies that aren't typical Superman movies,
Hmm.
that are typical Superman comics. Oh
Yeah.
my god. There are so many like I can't get into like the weeds of how disappointing it is to watch a movie about a guy who thinks he's a literal god. How boring that is.
you know
Like I hate that. Like I hate that aspect of Superman. How everyone just equates him to a god, and it's like, oh, well, what do I do with this ultimate power? Oh, whatever. But like, whatever. It's just wasted potential. It's the same thing with as I was saying before with Wonder Woman. It's
hmm
sometimes the same thing with Batman. It's like there's so many great stories that can be told, and they just keep copying and pasting the same kind of narratives. I
hmm
think what Justice League and the DCU needs to do
hmm
is find a way to differentiate from the MCU. They did a good job with making like R-rated stories. Like
hmm
I personally don't care for the Joker now that I think about it, like a romanticizing all the worst fucking school shooter bullshit. But like,
yeah.
but it made an R-rated character study about a psychopath.
hmm
I think that's pretty impressive. Suicide Squad could be really, or the sequel could be really interesting.
hmm
It's just it's all a matter of how they handle it and who's in
yeah.
charge. It really
hmm
is.
yeah.
Anyway,
I was,
fucking
I was gonna say, they also saw the failures of, Fantastic Four. Um,
ugh.
yeah, and I
And they
think
still
also,
made the same mistakes.
yeah, and I think the same thing with the, like Spider Man. I think the original trilogy of Spider Man, like, it could have gone way better. Um,
I still think for what it is,
mhm.
Spider-Man 1 and 2 are really good.
Yes,
I think
100%. I think two
again,
was really really solid.
oh yeah. again, like I think the third one is the one where everyone loses it. I'm not
I,
gonna
I
get into
lost it.
like, oh, Venom doesn't look good, but like it's just all over the place. I think there are
Yeah.
too many threads that it has to compensate with.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
loses a lot of narrative cohesion at one point, and it's like I don't know. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I completely agree.
And what Fantastic Four and Spider Man didn't have was the rights to what Marvel Studios had of
Mhm.
having all these players available to do cameos and make movies later on, and stuff like that. So you know,
Well, if I may,
mm-hmm.
I don't think Spider-Man suffered for that reason.
Right.
Uh, I think Fantastic Four suffers for that reason
Mm-hmm.
sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think. How do I want to put it? I don't think any superhero movie will necessarily. Well, I don't think any unrelated Marvel movie would fail because it's not related to the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that it makes it more palatable to be excited to introduce new heroes.
Yeah. Fair
If you
enough.
had a movie, so like I hear about a Black Panther movie in the 90s with Wesley Snipes or Denzel Washington, a whole bunch of other actors, and like I don't, I'm not excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hear the same thing about like a Doctor Strange movie too with Alec Baldwin,
Mm.
and like I keep hearing these stories and I'm not fascinated with them
Yeah.
mainly because like they still suffer from like the 90s tropey stuff and I the
Right.
idea of Doctor Strange movie but just like in the 90s during the crowded era with fucking Batman, are you fucking kidding me? It would have been
Yeah.
awful. Possibly even the same thing with with Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only to be honest, the only like one of the few really good comic book movies I thought was Blade.
Yeah.
Like I don't like Blade that much as a franchise. Like the second one is the only one I truly like, but I go back to watch Blade 1 every so often and
Mm-hmm.
it's a consistently like gritty movie. It's funny occasionally. Like Wesley Snipes is really good. It has a
Yeah.
great sense of atmosphere. It's like everything that the 90s comic book like era wasn't.
Mm.
Cuz it's like again like Spider-Man is big enough a character, universally loved that he did get away with being on his own perfectly fine. Um God, I don't know what I end up trying to say when I want to say what I want to say. I'm so sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. And
I just
you're right.
oh, go
Like definitely a shift in my head towards like Spider-Man didn't lack. I guess I think it was that excitement. Of
ahead.
like, man, I wish other people that Spider-Man usually is associated with could be in the film too. Like,
Yeah.
when Spider-Man was out, there was that it was a video game, Marvel Alliance or something like that,
Right.
and
Yeah.
like you saw
Where
all
all those
these
characters were introduced.
and you're like, oh my god, like there's Spider Man, there's Captain America, there's
Yeah.
Wolverine, like there's all these fucking people. Like I want to play as them. And then you're like, oh, since there's a Spider Man movie, maybe Spider Man can like hook up and be with other people, and like
Mhm.
obviously like that can't happen. And
Yeah.
you're right, like that was missing, like that excitement of like what else can happen that isn't just Spider Man fighting Spider Man villains.
Because it's like you were mentioning Spider-Man alliances. For me, what got me was Ultimate Spider-Man. And
Mm,
there's a part in that game where because you switch in between Eddie Brock and Peter Parker and you're playing
I remember that game.
and what ends up happening is you're in a bar
And you
and
fight your Venom
Wolverine.
fighting yes, I totally, that has been like my fantasy, um like cinematic
Mhm.
forever, like
That
after
would be
that.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. But it's like again, X-Men didn't fail, and
Mm-mm.
X-Men wasn't like bad. They
Mm-hmm.
actually did a really good job at making it stand alone. But the thing is, it's like you would have to invest time and effort without any of the context to make
Right.
a. Again, I'm sorry, I'm sorry on the hump of Stephen Strange, but you would have to put a lot of time and effort in writing and everything else to make a story like Doctor Stephen Strange
Mm-hmm.
on its own attractive and successful.
Mm-hmm.
You really would.
Yeah.
I can't think of an instance on my own where making Stephen Strange in his own world without anyone else like a really, really interesting thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you could, like I'm sure there would be people out there to watch it, but like I don't think it would be as fun. And I'm not
Mm.
saying like hell, the first movie didn't have anything. Like
Right.
you didn't know the Eye of Agamotto was technically an Infinity Stone until
Mm-hmm.
he literally said it in Infinity War, and he mentions the Avengers once, but it's a standalone movie. And it's a perfectly fine one. I'm simply saying, like, if it was done in the '90s before the MCU, I think it would have been fucking awful.
Yeah.
Because guess what? They basically made a fucking Doctor Strange movie in the '90s, and it was fucking terrible. If
Yeah.
anyone's interested, by the way, watch The Shadow. It's really fucking bad. It's really bad. I wasn't kidding about the Alec Baldwin movie. He literally goes to Asia and fights a flying dagger, and then the tomb of a Genghis Khan descendant wakes up and he wants to destroy the world. It's really bad. It's really bad. It like oh god, oh god. It's Doctor Strange, but that's what I'm saying. Where it's
Yeah.
like it has all of the stuff that a Doctor Strange movie would do. The mystic sorcery, the enemy from a bygone past wanting to
Mm-hmm.
use technology to destroy the modern world, and then like completely throws all caution to the wind and uses the whole '90s flair to just wreck everything.
Mm.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fair
God,
enough.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I was a good conversation. Yeah, but in the end, I'm excited for what's coming up in the next episode of WandaVision. I'm excited to see what I'm ex- I, I'm excited to see what's up with that new Spider-Man movie. Like, introducing it goes with the new Doctor Strange movie. Yeah,
No,
the
please
multiverse.
God, no. I really, that's the worst mistake. The
Look,
worst.
I'm excited.
Oh, I'd love to see Andrew Garfield again as Spider-Man. I thought he was fine. I'd like to see
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire too,
Hmm.
but I stress, I stress this. I don't want it to be a multiverse movie. If they
Hmm.
ever do Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the same breathing distance as Tom Holland, I
Hmm.
want that to be at the end. So okay, so here it fucking goes.
Okay, go for
Here is my dream uh scenario.
it. Hmm.
So what happens is in the comics eventually people do figure out Spider-Man's identity, right?
Right.
And Spider-Man goes to Stephen Strange. I don't know why I call him Stephen Strange. Go to Doctor Strange and he's like, "Hey, I need your help. I need you to help me like help everyone forget."
Mm.
And he does it except MJ forgets him too.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'd fucking love at the end of how do I want to put this? At the end of Spider-Man 3,
Mm.
um so there's Homecoming, Far From Home, and then fucking Spider-Man 3 Under House Arrest or whatever. I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
So Craven Manhunter and whatever are like doing their thing, and at the end of it, he fucking goes to Doctor Strange and like he pulls up different dimensions of him, and you briefly see Tobey Maguire, and you briefly see
Mm.
Andrew Garfield, and then he's like, "I'll fucking, I'll put a spell over the entire world. They'll all forget you." but are you willing to accept the consequences of that? And he's like, oh, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Da, 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 da. He's like, okay,
Mm,
whatever. He does it, and he goes to MJ, and MJ just like, oh, hey, what's up, Pete? And completely just blows him off, and that's it. And perfect. And then you introduce fucking Gwen Stacy, and then you kill her off fucking 20 minutes later.
sounds good.
Yeah,
I mean,
or something. I don't
I'm excited because that just I mean, obviously the Doctor Strange movie says it in the title. You have the multiple Spider-Mans in the Spider-Man 3. It's like I still have my high hopes of X-Men at some point coming. They've already casted people for Fantastic Four, which is nice cuz
They have
yeah, a lot of backlash behind it, but Jennifer Lawrence is going to be Sue
considered
Storm.
considered.
Oh, I read that
Considered.
it was like a for sure thing.
Okay, fucker. We'll tell
But
you
no,
what.
no,
Let's
no, no, no. I could be wrong.
magic this shit.
Yeah, let's Google this shit. Let's
All right.
how
If
do
you can visualize this, folks, I'm typing in Jennifer Van Forstick. Yeah, it's mainly saying she's either in talks or it's rumored.
okay,
I
fair
don't know.
enough.
I still like the idea of John Krasinski from The Office. Like, oh god,
Dude,
that Photoshop of him with the Fantastic Four like suit and the 13 days like beard with him
mm-hmm.
looking to the side. Oh god.
So it's funny, like because I was reading up, I was reading up on it, and a lot of people were saying that she didn't even like being Mystique in X-Men. So
Oh yeah,
why?
because those movies were dog shit.
Yeah, but still, it's like I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I guess for
The
that,
thing is, like, I feel like the MCU is trying to incorporate some really good writing and some really meaty parts for bigger actors.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So like I'm not saying that's the case, but I mean I do think there is a commercialization to the amount of nostalgia that people have right
Yeah.
now. And you will cry your fucking eyes out the moment you see the Baxter building and you see the family and
Mm-hmm,
they're all fucking ribbing on one another and Sue Storm does some cutesy bullshit or she says she's pregnant at the end with Franklin Richards or some bullshit, right?
mm-hmm.
On top of that, mixed with really good writing. It's the same thing with fucking Tony Stark dying at the end. Like I think Tony Stark is a fine character. Like I don't think
Yeah,
he's anything like multi-dimensional, but like he's got his ups and his downs, and he's got some pretty solid and creative like character growth. But like 10 years of getting to know him, people
yeah,
fucking wept when
yeah,
his ass fucking I am Iron Man did. So I think that is what draws actors and actresses to parts like that. And it's the same thing with WandaVision, the ability to have a monicum of scenes where you can really let loose
right.
and people can love you for it. I don't know. I don't think X-Men had the same effect because when she came in, I'm not saying she was the reason. I'm simply saying while she was there, what was happening is that the X franchise was in decline.
Yeah, that's true.
I personally think her best performance as Mystique was in Days of Future Past,
Mm-hmm.
personally, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think I saw a picture of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt as Sue and I
Yeah,
forget.
Sue.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't see them doing it anytime soon. I'd like to see them do it just because, like, oh, hey, cool. But anyone could play these characters.
Yeah, the thing is, we would want long term people who would want to do like she did Mystique for a few years. Like I was hoping for something like Hugh Jackman doing Wolverine for so many years, or you know, Robert Downey Jr. doing Iron Man for so many years. You know, it's like
Oh yeah,
you want to be because this is I think they already said like this is gonna be another fucking long story, with a lot of new characters involved, and you got to be involved for a lot, like going not just like you being the main character, but like being in other movies that like you might not be in there the whole time, but you'll be in there. You know what I mean? Like being
Oh yeah.
dedicated to the decade long story,
Oh
that
yeah.
that's gonna come.
And not only that, but there are so many stories with these characters, and they don't die. I mean, they
Mm,
die, but there's always either another universe where they live,
yep.
magic, cloning. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that in this universe anymore. You could like you could kill a character off and a year later bring them back,
Mm,
but I mean these characters age, and this is what's different um than the comic universe is that you have to build a universe that does have a bit of finality to it, where
yep.
these characters age, where these characters have to die. It's okay that not all of them die. It's okay that some come back from the dead, but you do have to understand that this franchise does have a timer on it.
Yep.
And what makes what makes it a little easier, what makes it a little more enjoyable in my opinion, is when characters kind of are appropriately phased out, when they're not just like when it's obvious that like a 40-year-old is progressively playing someone who's getting older and older and leaves or dies
Hmm.
instead of pretending that they're like 29.
Right.
So that's me.
No, yeah, I agree.
Oh
Man,
man, that was a doozy.
that was a doozy. Um, we've been going on for an hour and a half. Um,
God, you just talk and fucking
I
talk, don't you?
I do, right. All right, I'm gonna end with this little short story that I literally just experienced a few hours ago. Um, so Livy got me a shirt for Christmas. It's a picture of Sephiroth, in flames, and it's in Japanese. 5x7. Um, and I wore it today, and we're at Sprouts, and uh, one of the workers came by. He's like, "Oh, sick shirt." Me, like always wearing my metal shirts. I was like, "Oh, sick," and I threw up the horns, and then it's kind of like, "What shirt am I wearing?" Because I never really know. I just grab a shirt out of my closet, put it on. I look down, I'm like, "Oh shit." It's my Final Fantasy 7 shirt. Like, I mean, okay, whatever. It is what it is. And he came back, and so he comes at me. And he's like, "Hey, so," he's like, "You played the remake, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You played it all the way through?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Okay, I just want to get your input on like the remake, and like how do you feel about it?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I liked it a lot. I thought it was great for like it gave me everything I wanted. As someone who's played the original before." He's like, "Oh, so you played it through the original?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I play it like every year, for like a couple decades now." He's like, "Oh, okay." So yeah, I've only played it like twice fully through. I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I play it every year, man." Like I, and he's like, "Okay." So and he was talking
It's a
about like,
pilgrimage for you almost.
yeah, exactly. And so like he talks like, okay, so like he was talking about the remake, and he was like, like how do you feel about like the ending and like all the stuff they added in the middle. And I was kind of, I kind of just told him my how I felt, right? I said, I thought it was great. Midgar in the original is such a small section compared to what the remake is. Like it's the entire game. It's a lot of hours like of gameplay. So they had to add a lot of stuff. And my main thing was, I played the original so many times, I want something different. If I want to play the original, I'm gonna
You
play the original. Yeah, and then he's like, "Wouldn't you want an HD version of it, like one for one?" I was like, No, because there is already an HD version of it. They've remade it, and they
a bunch
upped
of
up.
times.
They remade it a bunch of times. They bumped up the graphics. Like, there's only so much you can do, with that. And then I referred to him like, 10, 20 years ago when people were telling them you need to remake it for the PS2, or they should make a remake for the PS3, or even, you know,
I remember when they did God, what was it? Everyone got all fucking excited when they did a commercial of a remastered PlayStation 3 version of Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
like, people have been talking about it for so long, and it's like, yeah, we all want a better version of our favorite game, right? It's like, but the thing is, like, and their words are so true to this day, is why would you want to remake perfection? It's like, that is true. The original game is perfect as is. There's nothing wrong with it. The,
it's like
every
making The Godfather a fucking Disney Pixar movie.
Yeah, it's like, don't touch the original. The original's perfect. You want better graphics? Here's better graphics. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I want to. I want, like, this game gave me what I wanted. I wanted to hear voices. I wanted to get more visual, like, effects. Like, be like, see their faces, their emotions. Like, the original, they expressed it through, like, hand gestures or body movement, or through the, because you had to read what they're saying. It's not voice acting, it's just reading the story. So it's like, the way they express things are completely different than what the remake is. And I was telling him, like, they gave me everything that I wanted. And so, he was like, oh yeah, yeah. It's like, he said, what about the ending? I told him, like, the ending, I think it's perfect for someone who's been playing it like me for 20 years, and someone who literally hasn't played the original and has only picked up the remake. Like, it's perfect because of how it ends. Like, people like me, who've been playing it for 20 years, I have something new to look forward to. Like, oh
Hmm.
man, and then people who have played it for the first time are excited for the next section. Like, oh man, I want to know what's coming up next, because it's new for both of us, you know, and that's the biggest thing that I wanted from this. Because if it's just literally a one for one, it's like, I know what's coming up next. That's kind of boring. I'm just gonna be
Yeah,
like, okay, so I just play the original. So what? I just wasted $60. But then
pretty.
this is, yeah, it's like, but this is different. Like, I don't know what's coming up next, and that's fucking amazing for me. They gave me everything that I wanted, from the original, and giving me something new. I have nothing, like, no complaints about. And the guy was like, "Man, like, you have, like, a great, like, what do you say, Livy?" Oh, she's fucking asleep. He basically was saying, like, wow, you have, like, a great, like, argument, like, for everything. I was like, yeah. It's like, yeah. When I first started, like, when I saw your shirt, like, like, I didn't think I was gonna talk to an expert about the game. I was like, oh my bad. Like, yeah, it's my fucking game. But yeah, it was just funny interaction that, like, this. I don't know if he came up thinking, like, I don't know anything about the game, or, like, I fucking played for 20 minutes, but his, like, reaction of, like, oh man, this guy knows his shit. Like,
He wanted to gatekeep you because you're brown and brown people don't play games. That's
exactly.
not true. That was a joke for anyone tone deaf.
But yeah, it was just a little funny interaction that I had with a Sprouts employee, um about Final Fantasy 7 in my shirt.
Fuck Sprouts. I'm just kidding. Goddamn. You know what it is? You know what it
Hmm.
is?
Hmm.
Hypocrite, Harry. Because you
Hmm.
like Diablo 2 remastered, which is the exact same thing, just nicer. Yeah, what do you think of that ending, you little shit?
Yeah, but
No.
there hasn't been anything like that for Diablo 2.
Yeah.
They've done it plenty of times with Final Fantasy 7. I'm happy.
Mhm.
But Diablo 2, it's literally been, like, the exact same game that came out 20 years ago.
I'm not gonna lie. I just want to remaster Jack 2 and 3. Fuck Jack and Daxter.
Like, skip the first one. Give me 2 and 3.
Nah, the first one's good. I started playing the second one when he was all edgy, and I didn't get like why people were angry.
Mm.
Uh,
No, fair enough.
but since you're excited about a game, so am I, because I just started playing. Well, not just started. About a week and a half ago, I started playing fucking Resident Evil for the first time. Remember when we were talking about that?
Yes.
I fucking downloaded that shit on Gold, and yeah, I've been playing
Uh
it. It's
the
fucking difficult. Oh my
so
god.
you're playing the original.
Yeah, the original.
Uh, so, like,
Fucking
Resident Evil from the PlayStation 1, or like Resident Evil remake?
it's the remake.
Okay, okay, okay. Which is fine. I
So,
think I have that too.
yeah, so I'm playing as Jill Valentine.
Always.
with the lock picking, except the lock picking is fucking useless because it tells me like, "Oh, you can lock pick. Oh, you don't need to do this right now." Like, "Oh, well, fucking I picked her for that fucking reason." Um, oh my god, the difficulty curve, fucking
Oh,
apparently there's a
yes.
limited number of saves,
Mm-hmm.
limited ammo. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, my character is so goddamn slow. You have
Yep.
no idea.
I,
No idea.
I actually started playing that pre-pandemic,
Mhm.
Halloween time. I was like, it's Halloween and it was on sale. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking get it. And I got it. And yeah, that shit's fucking scary. You're right. It's difficult. It's like what is missing from the current Resident Evils or the newer ones, the horror survival aspect.
Yeah,
You know.
I'm not gonna lie. This is my first horror game ever.
Mm,
I was never interested in fucking Dead Space, Silent
mm-hmm.
Hill, like any of it.
Yeah.
Um, I was kind of interested in Resident Evil 4, but I didn't have a GameCube, so I was over it. When it came out on the PS2, I didn't want to play it.
Yeah.
Um, but like the sense of oh man, the sense of mystery almost outweighs the sense of horror that you feel. And I think that feeling is
Mm,
so impressive
yeah.
because firstly it's this puzzle game too where it's like you have to find a bunch of these different like things and unlock shit and you die like every 5 fucking seconds.
Yep.
I just got the shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
I've been exploring a shitload of rooms too. I'm pressing A for every conceivable inch of this fucking area. So, but
Best
it's
part.
good. I think how they control ammo is so ridiculously effective.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the ways that you can limit a character's interaction with a weapon and not make it too OP is just restricting ammo. And
Yes.
they do it everywhere. And it's so goddamn nerving when you're rounding a corner and you've got 6 shots and then fucking it takes like 4 to knock one of these fuckers out.
Yep.
So bad.
Yeah, that's it's so scary. Like when I was playing, I would literally like open the door and then like because you can just use the audio. You can hear the like you can either hear them like moaning or you can hear them walking. You hear like a like bloody feet like stomping on fucking carpet or wood or whatever. And like as soon as I heard it, I'd like fucking turn around and like go back the other door and be like, okay, hold on, I gotta prepare for this. Or like,
Oh,
and I love it. Like the scary part about it is just the fixed camera because you don't
don't
like
don't do that to me.
it's like when you open a door and you finally get past it, it's like the camera's looking at you, but you can't see what's behind the camera, so you
It's
don't
like
know if
yeah,
you can't
it's
tell
like
if this
developers are just fucking laughing at you.
yeah, it's like you don't know if the zombie's like right behind the camera or like down whatever the hall you're at. If you're even in a hall, you could be in a room. You don't know. You just open a door and then like it's just you next to the door and you just hear like wet footprints. You
What
know.
it is for me is when you're walking down a hallway
Mm-hmm.
and you round a corner and as you round the corner the camera changes to
Yes.
show you in that corner and the farther you walk through the rest of the hallway then it changes to the rest of the hallway and then it shows you the zombie.
Yeah.
I fucking oh god. God
You,
damn it.
and
Every time.
depending on how the camera angle is, they can be like right next to you or like way down the hallway.
And then I fucking learned way too late that if I just aim up as the zombie is right fucking next to me, I can kill it in one shot.
Yeah.
Or possibly. I don't know if it's only with the shotgun or if I can do it with a pistol. So
It some I don't know. I've been too scared to do that. I usually have to like chug half a Dr Pepper and then like I'll be fine to
ugh,
like go into the
get
room.
your heart pumping ahead of time,
Yeah,
right?
dude. Oh god, that game's fucking nerve wracking, dude. I I've been meaning to pick it up, but I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe this Halloween. I'll pick it up. I'll probably
We
stream
can
it.
play it together.
We can. I was thinking about streaming it and then letting the internet laugh at me as I freak out.
I like that. I like that. You're fearless.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. I think I think this is good. I think this is a good spot to call it.
Yeah.
I know you just want to keep talking, running your fucking mouth,
I
but
do. I always do.
there's only so much we can do, but you know. Oh God, you want me to do the fucking outro? I
Always.
always do the intro. God, Harry,
Yes.
never mind. All right, folks. Let me just log into Twitter. Give me a second. God damn it! Why didn't you remind me to have this shit on command?
I like seeing you suffer.
Shut the fuck. Just stop it. Puta madre. Okay, folks. You know what? You know what? I got you. I got you right here. If you wanna give us an ad on our Twitter, we've got hitting the mark with Harry and Mark. That's at capital H, capital T, capital M underscore podcast. At HTM underscore podcast. You can also hit us up on YouTube, hitting the mark with Harry and Mark. And let's see, I believe our email as well. If you have any questions, if you have any recommendations, you can email us at hittingthemark2020@gmail.com. That was a doozy. That was a good
Yeah.
one. All right, all
A
right.
lot of conversation.
Yeah, yeah, I liked it. I liked it. We were doing good. We were doing good. I mean, next time I'll try to, commit more to the conversation. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Harry. I think we're gonna call it then, huh?
Yep.
All right, folks. You have a wonderful evening, and we hope to catch you next week. See you on the flip side. Okay?
Bye bye.
Auf Wiedersehen, assholes.